Welcome to the Daily Bite. I'm your host, Pastor Steve Andrews. Let's take a look at Psalm 108, a song, a psalm of David. My heart is steadfast, O God, I will sing and make melody with all my being. Awake, O harp and lyre, I will awake the dawn. I will give thanks to you, O Yahweh, among the peoples. I will sing praises to you among the nations. For your steadfast love is great above the heavens. Your faithfulness reaches to the clouds. Be exalted, O God, above the heavens. Let your glory be over all the earth, that your beloved ones may be delivered. Give salvation by your right hand, and answer me. God has promised in his holiness. With exultation I will divide up Shechem, and portion out the valley of Succoth. Gilead is mine, Manasseh is mine, Ephraim is my helmet, Judah is my scepter. Moab is my wash basin. Upon Edom I cast my shoe. Over Philistia I shout in triumph. Who will bring me to the fortified city? Who will lead me to Edom? Have you not rejected us, O God? You do not go out, O God, with our armies. O grant us help against the foe, for vain is the salvation of man. With God we shall do valiantly. It is he who will tread down our foes. This is the word of the Lord. Psalm 108 is the first one in a while to actually give us one of those subtitles, so we know David wrote this one. He pulls here from a couple of other psalms, Psalm 57 verses 7 through 11, Psalm 60 verses 5 through 12. If you took a look at those, you would see some similarities. And so the focus that he pulls from those two psalms is on God helping during times of distress, where David seems to either have been defeated or is being chased by enemies. And so we begin this particular psalm with David rejoicing in God, making music to give God thanks. Now this could be a family conversation. What ways do you like to give thanks to God? And the scriptures certainly encourage, and I think we could even safely say command us to sing to the Lord. So what songs of praise do you like to say? But we can also talk about other ways to thank God, as we thank him simply by speaking, as we thank him in prayer, as we thank him by doing what he's given us to do, by going about and loving our neighbor. So there's lots of ways that we give thanks to God to talk about. My heart is steadfast, O God. So even though David's wrestling with difficult times, his heart will not be moved. His faith will not be undone. He cannot be defeated. Romans 8, nothing can separate you from the love of God that is in Christ Jesus for you. Thanks be to God. Our heart is able to be steadfast because Christ is unchanging, and he has promised to redeem us from sin, death, and the devil. David then will play a couple of instruments. We actually learn back in 1 Samuel chapter 16 of David's ability to play the lyre. And a harp is a similar style instrument, larger, but David played this for King Saul whenever the Lord sent the harmful spirit upon him. I will awake the dawn. Like the idea of your child playing the drums early in the morning and waking everybody in the house up. So David is so excited to sing praise to his Lord, he's going to make music to the Lord and wake the world. I know there's some traditions among various Christians, typically with camps and things, where you bang pots and pans to wake up your campers and you sing, something like Rise and Shine and Give God the Glory, something like that. I may have had that happen to me in my childhood a couple of times. Awake the dawn, with singing, with shouts to the Lord. I will give thanks to you, Yahweh, among the peoples. So David is going to let his faith be known to others and sing his praises among the nations. So this is one of the ways, again, we give thanks is by song, and our songs teach. Again, there's meat to them of what the Lord does, of who he is. And even in a shorter psalm like this, you can see some of that meat, what God has done, how he's delivered. Your steadfast love is great above the heavens. Your faithfulness reaches to the clouds. Maybe a point of contrast, that it's higher than man, greater than man, that what we think we can achieve, God is far better. And so we think we are able to love. How much more can God love us? We think we're faithful. Oh, how much more is he faithful than we are? And honestly, thanks be to God for that, because I know I'm not faithful, but he is. And in that I rejoice. I give thanks. Then he prays that God would be exalted above the heavens and glorified over all the earth. Similar meaning to those words, exalt and glory. It's the idea of being lifted up. So to be exalted is to be lifted up. Glory is really what makes you worth being lifted up. So let him be lifted up above the heavens. So let the whole world see him, and let everybody know his glory. The mighty works of God, as we've seen in a couple of the recent Psalms, 105, 106. The things that he has done to redeem and restore his people, from Psalm 107. That your beloved ones may be delivered. Prayer for God to save his people. Give salvation by your right hand and answer me. So God, fight for me. That's the right hand picture, as you use your right hand to draw your sword from its sheath and fight. So God defeats the enemies. God rescues his people. God answered David's prayer. Verse 7, God has promised in his holiness, so thus it can't be undone, because God is perfect. With exultation I will divide up Shechem and portion out the valley of Succoth. Gilead is mine, Manasseh is mine. Those are two lands east of the Jordan River, or at least partially, whereas Ephraim and Judah are west of it. So God dividing up the land, claiming all the land really for himself, for his people. Shechem is on the west side of the Jordan River, in between Mount Ebal and Mount Gerizim. It's 30 miles north of Jerusalem. Jacob bought a piece of land there on his way back from living in Haran for 20 years. It becomes a city of refuge when the Israelites enter the Promised Land and they bury Joseph there. It will be the early capital for Jeroboam, the northern king of Israel, after the kingdom splits. So God is claiming this one. It's his. But also the valley of Succoth. Succoth is not usually called a valley, probably, but it's part of the valley of the Jordan River. On the east side of the Jordan, it belongs to the tribe of Gad. Interestingly enough, also on his trip back from Haran, Jacob settled there for a while, long enough that he sought to build tents to protect and care for his livestock. Anyway, as Jacob got to sojourn in both of these places, God is claiming them both as his own, just as he does with all these tribes in verse 8. Ephraim, my helmet. Interesting referent. The helmet protects the head from attack. Judah, my scepter. So Ephraim is going to be the tribe north of Judah on a map, and Judah is where he rules from. Most of the enemies of the Israelites will come from the north, so they'd have to get through Ephraim in order to strike. So you'd have to get through a man's helmet in order to kill the man. Kind of the picture here, perhaps. God is claiming these as his own. Then he declares against his enemies, Moab, Edom, and Philistia. Moab is to the east of the Salt Sea or the Dead Sea. Edom is south of the Salt Sea, and Philistia is to the southwest of Israel up against the Mediterranean Sea. These are all enemies that the Lord has defeated. So Moab is my wash basin. So low are they, so he will humble them and do his laundry there, almost the picture. Upon Edom I cast my shoe, so just a dirty piece of clothing as you come in your house and you cast it aside. So is Edom to him. And over Philistia he shouts in triumph because he's defeated. So enemies of God defeated. David continues, verse 10, "Who will bring me to the fortified city? Who will lead me to Edom?" Both of these appear to be references to enemies. So a fortified city David wants to conquer. Edom, an enemy that has mocked Israel. Who will bring him there? Because God is not leading. David feeling in his despair here that God has abandoned. Have you not rejected us, O God? You do not go out, O God, with our armies. So David's prayer is that would get reversed. Grant us help against the foe. Vain is the salvation of man. Man's works do nothing. We cannot save ourselves. If we are going to be truly victorious, if we're going to live and endure through this evil age, it is only because the Lord grants it so. So with God we shall do valiantly. It is He who will tread down our foes. This makes for a good opportunity to reflect with your children, who are our foes? And that would be sin, death, and the devil, all of which have been defeated by Jesus Christ our King. First by his death on Good Friday, as he defeats sin and takes away all the devil's power, which really is holding our sin against us, accusing us, making us feel guilt and despair. But Christ has redeemed us from that by his own blood, and then defeating death by rising from death, bursting forth from the tomb. It could not hold him, and because it could not hold him, it cannot hold you. With God we shall do valiantly. We shall be victorious because he has tread down our foes. Thanks be to God, and we will sing and make music to the Lord, for he is good.